Oh, please don't judge me. Something, something, something. Guys, welcome to the channel. It's your boy, and I appreciate that you're here with me today. You can see that we have a dirty car today, and please don't judge us, man. You know, on this channel, we sometimes drive on rough roads and we find ourselves with dust and all those things. And I'm doing this after I've already driven this car and shot the video for you. But hey, you know what? That's what we do on the channel, of course. Guys, look, we have something that I think when I saw it on paper and that they're bringing it to South Africa, I was so excited because this thing is the Mazda CX60 Takumi. That means we have a 3.3 liter inline-6 mild hybrid turbocharged engine in here. And hey, that is exciting for me because I've been asking myself, when is Mazda going to do something like this? Finally, they've done it, because when I drove the 2.2 DE Akira CX5, I was actually impressed with what they've done. And I know that they love these naturally aspirated engines in the Mazda 3, in the CX5, whatever car that you're driving from Mazda, because of course they are focusing on longevity, quality, and everything else. We know that Mazda is actually quality. But hey, this one, sometimes they say don't meet your heroes, sometimes you meet them, and then you find that they're the best thing ever. You were not wrong. But we'll see how this one goes, right? Let me show you what happened. Let's go. We're not going to do a lot of gravel because I didn't plan this at all. What kind of side are you choosing and so on? Because then now on gravel, sometimes you find that this side, as much as it's going that way, it's actually quite smooth compared to this one. So in this track now, it's causing a lot of problems on the road, and then next thing there are chip stones and so on. Guys, I just want to pass this track quickly because I can't afford this car to have like chip stones and so on. Yo! So guys, here we are at Red Star Raceway, just outside Delmas in Mpumalanga, and I'm about to hit the road. Of course, you can see that that's a racetrack. I don't know how far this camera can get to, but there are bikes there doing their thing. I don't know what series this is called because I love my cars. I'm not into bikes or anything like that. I just know that there's MotoGP, but I don't know what you call this one in South Africa. Hey, we have our steed here that is taking us home, of course. As I said, hey, 3.3 liter inline-6, and that's something that I've been praying for from Mazda. They just give us something, man. I mean, Mazda does a lot of good when it comes to their cars, and I feel like the engines have been a letdown in some way or the other. But there's a bit of wind here because we are on the racetrack and so on, so let's just get in and hit the road. Man, there's a lot of fresh air here. Ooh! Okay, here we are. So let's hit the road. Okay, as I said in the night review, it's not necessarily the best revving vehicle, especially when you're driving like slow and so on. But once you're on the highway, you start feeling that this engine is coming to the party because it's starting to be smooth. Once you settle on the cruising speed, it doesn't necessarily make a lot of sound and so on. And of course, another thing, of course, this is a big sound system, the Bose sound system with 12 speakers in here. That is something that we'll talk about as well. And it does help a lot when it comes to what I just said right now, when it comes to the engine noise and so on, because this thing sounds like a truck. Listen to that. Sounds like a truck. Ooh. But you know what? Let's go, guys. We're a little bit far from home, actually. And we're going to talk more about this on the road. Let's get on. You can see the camera system there. Actually, it's a very good camera system. I said this in the night review already. But hey, you can see it during the day here. And now you can even just change your field of view. What is it that you want to see? And so on and so on. And you see, I like it. I like this camera system. They've done a great job. 360-degree camera, and you know, when it comes to this one, you don't necessarily have to spec it or put options and so on. It comes standard with a lot of stuff, because you get the dynamic 2.5 liter petrol, naturally aspirated, which I don't think I would have looked at in any way. And then let me rephrase that. I would have looked at, but because of what I just said about Mazda engines, I don't think it would have been number one for me in the lineup, and especially when I'm looking at the competition. Because if I was to think there's an X3, there's a GLC, there's a Volvo XC60 that I can get as well, and quite a number of cars in this kind of price bracket that I can get, either second-hand, demo, or brand new. So that might be something that you have to think about as well. Then you also get the individual 2.5 liter petrol, which adds a lot of spec that is in here in the Takumi. And then okay, let me get out here first so that, okay, so we are leaving Red Star now. So the individual adds a lot of spec that is in here. You will get quite a number of stuff that is in the Takumi, but the party piece in here is the 3 liter Inline-6. Of course, you know for sure. And as I said, that I'm seeing a bit of a gravel here, so I'm thinking we need to test it together for what is this thing, suspension, and how this car feels and so on. I don't know this gravel, guys, so I need to just check the tires. This is sitting on 235, I think. Yeah, let me see, 235 50 R20. So it's not necessarily an off-road tire, it's an on-road tire. You can see it's a Toyo tires, and they're good tires, I know them for sure. Then let's look out here. I think we are good. This is how the car looks right now, but I'm about to hit the gravel. I didn't plan this at all, because I was thinking I'm not going to take this thing on gravel, but it's a all-wheel drive, so it should do well, right? We're expecting it to do well. Let's see how it goes then. Let's see how it goes before we go home. I'm just going to punch it. A little bit of sleep. I did think that it might feel a little bit like this, but let me not blame it before I move this can here. Okay, I have to say, the composure is there, but as I suspected, this car, when it comes to the panels and how it's moving and shaking a bit on the tar road, I did expect that out here, this gravel is actually quite good. I did expect that it might be a little bit rattling and so on, but it's not that bad, I have to say. Put this down, because we've already established that the panels are not that bad. Okay, let's move. We're not gonna do a lot of gravel because I didn't plan this at all. So yeah, it's not that bad. It's not that bad, but I actually, because of the way it feels on the suspension and so on, I thought it's not gonna be comfortable, and that's something that I was suspecting. That when you get with it on gravel, you might just need to be a little bit careful as to the road imperfections, what kind of side are you choosing and so on, because then now on gravel sometimes you find that this side, as much as it's going that way, it's actually quite smooth compared to this one. So in this car I think it's better on smooth surfaces, and yeah, when it gets a little bit rough, you can feel that it's taking a little bit of a beating, but I can't judge it too much because we just did like a few meters really, so I can't really complain much. All-wheel drive, of course, it's something that I think from my perspective, I wouldn't want to do this every day. But hey, I can't complain about everything else and the way it drives, how quick it is. Now let's just go home, guys. Let's hit the road and go home. So let's go. It's getting hot here. And I got here in the morning, it was a little bit chilly. And I have like 94 kilometers to go from here. So guys, yeah, that was a little bit of a gravel run because I wasn't planning on that. Now I have to go to the car wash and wash the car and so on and so on. But I don't think that's a big issue, right? Okay. Let me show you how it pulls when I'm saying. Yeah, you see, when it comes to this engine noise, it sounds a little bit pumped in on the speakers to just, I said this in the night review actually, to just protect you a bit from that rough engine like sound that comes from the diesel. Yeah, so that's just one thing that you'll experience. And when you meet the road imperfections like this road is a little bit bumpy, that's where you're going to feel that actually, you know what, this suspension is a little bit firm for my liking. But when I talk performance overall, they didn't miss, because I really wanted them to do this. I really wanted them to put a turbocharged engine in here, and that's what they usually do in the international market. That's what they give other people, but they never really give to us in the country, and I keep getting bothered by that. I think there's a 2.5 turbo that they have on the petrol side that they put in the Mazda 3 and so on that we don't get in South Africa, and that is bothering me because I think Mazda gets their stuff so right, like the interior designs, the exterior designs, and just the overall feel of being in a car that feels premium. They get that right. But now, when it comes to the engine, you have to find yourself fighting with cars that you're not even supposed to be fighting for the money that you paid. And that's why I feel like maybe they're losing it a bit when it comes to the competitive edge. Like people ask themselves, should I get this and be fighting with the TSI on the side of the road? I don't want to do that. I'm talking about the Polo, of course. But if I was to pay 600, 700 and I get a 2-liter turbocharged engine, even if it's 140 kilowatts, I will do. In here, you're starting to feel that aspect that, you know what, if I can look at this car, 3.3 liter, coming in at around, what, 1,074,000 rands, I'm talking a car that I can put next to the X3, the GLC, the Volvo XC60, and I'll say, I need to think about this, right? Because this car is sitting just borderline $1 million, and those cars, to spec them to look as nice, to have the panoramic sunroofs and all this stuff, you're going to pay probably 1.3, 1.5, the ones that I just mentioned right now. And now this one is like giving you that I have $1 million and I can get everything that you want. I'll give you a proper engine as well. Then for those that feel like, yeah, $1 million is quite of a push, it's quite a push, they still have your cherries, your Havals, where you come in at around 700,000 rands for a car that is fully spec'd and probably has more technology than the cars that I've indicated right now. So that's why I'm seeing this car. It's slotting in to help those that are still a little bit skeptical about the Chinese vehicles, but at the same time they're like, hey, you know what? I need something that is reliable and that has a proper engine. And if I want to catch up to anything in front of me, I can be able to catch up. And that's something that I appreciate about this engine, man. It moves. It is not slow. It is not lazy. And for that, I applaud Mazda for that. Thank you for bringing this car. And it almost ends there. It doesn't really end there, but it almost does. Maybe because I was overly excited when I was getting it to say, I'm going to get that CX60 and it's a Takumi, and I'm experiencing, you know, when you are in the CX30, when you are in the Mazda 3 as well, there's a certain feeling that you get of luxury, of premiumness. And because this suspension is firm, it hits, like the feedback comes into the panel so much that, into the panels, like in the interior panels so much that it's starting to feel a little bit of, you know what, now not 100% sure because of the way I'm feeling about it right now when I'm driving it. It's starting to make me question the premiumness, and I understand that this is where Mazda wanted to bring that premium aspect of what they can do, and that's why maybe I have a problem. But I've seen some in Australia and so on. Some Australian reviews are saying no, they fixed the suspension and so on. So I think that can resolve a lot of things, because a car like this, yes, it's sitting on 20 inches because it needs to look as nice as it looks outside. So from that perspective, I think I understand the design and everything else. But hey, take care of the drive as well, Mazda, because I know Mazda for feeling like when you touch it, you can feel the quality and everything else. Right now, you can feel it in the materials, but when you're driving, because of the suspension, the firmness, the kind of noises that it makes, it's a little bit of a yeah, that's the only thing maybe that I can complain about. But hey, from the design perspective, they got it right. At least in my view, I think they got it right, because when I'm looking at it from the exterior, in the front, the eyes look a little bit tucked in, and from that perspective, not all people might or may rather like it, and I would understand if someone says, I'm still not sure about it. But in the rear and on the side, I love it. It looks a little bit extended, like it's a 7-seater, but it doesn't bother me that much because it does actually look quite cool. I like that. Even with, look, I'm not a big fan of body colored cladding and all this, like everything body colored. I would prefer that there's a little bit of black styling somewhere on the outside, but this doesn't bother me that much because it looks quite good in it, together with these diamond cut rims. When you get in front as well, you also get that chromish kind of grille that is blacked out a bit inside the mesh. So I like that is also shiny and so on. It gives you that, I mean, a premium car even when you're looking at it, because it does actually look quite cool. Just looking at it, it does look like I'm not running short of luxury. I can park with luxurious cars and feel like I belong. And also now, when you go to the rear, I think the only thing that may bother you is these chrome bits that they've done on the exhaust tips. It's not exhaust pipes, of course, they are underneath. I don't know why they did that. I don't think it was necessary. Even if they just did a line that is chromish and stuff, I think it was still going to be okay from that perspective. So yeah, that's maybe my only gripe with it. Coming inside, I can't complain much from design perspective. They've really nailed it. They nailed this design, in my view at least, because when I'm looking at the steering wheel, it's your typical new Mazda steering wheel that you'll find in your Mazda 3, in your CX60 and so on. But I like it the way it is. People don't like the fact that that screen is tucked away, but for me, that's a signature for Mazda, and I think they shouldn't lose that. And the fact that it's not a touch screen here, I've seen in other countries that when you're driving and you're on Android Auto and CarPlay, it's actually a touch screen. But here, I've tried to do that. I see it's not a touch screen. I don't have gripes with that because this wheel, it's actually quite effective when you're driving. You don't need to move anything to actually just, like, you don't need to lean forward and so on. So from that perspective, I think they've done well. As much as the screen is tucked away, I can't complain much about that because I need this to control the screen, and it's quite crisp. You can see what is in there and everything else. And then you look at how they've actually integrated the materials in here, from using these metallic beads on the chromes all the way to the dash, going to the other side as well, coming this side. There's a bit of ambient lighting that is just subtle as well. It's actually giving you vibes of, you know what, I paid $1 million. From that perspective, I agree that I know what Mazda was trying to do, and I think they've achieved that as well. Coming from all angles as well, because this is a big car. You're looking at a boot that is so big as well. I've seen that they're saying it's like, I think, around 477 liters when you close the cover at the back, but overall I think it's much more than that because it looks way bigger. It looks much bigger actually than other cars of this size as well. I remember, I think the H6 probably has this kind. I think this car can actually be a 7-seater, but I think they just decided that, you know what, we'll leave that for, I think the CX90 is a 7-seater or 6. I don't remember very well. I'm not sure if we're getting that as well. But practicality wise, I can't complain. You do get like rear Type-C USBs. That's all you're getting in this car. Type-C USBs as well in there. What is this thing again? Armrest bin, whatever you call it. So yeah, from that perspective, I think it's sorted because it's only 5 people that are going to be here anyway, unless if you're overloading it. I think overall, right, overall, when you're driving this car and you just chill like this, can you hear how it sounds right now? It's so smooth, the engine, it manages to keep up if you want to keep up. If you want to keep up, it can do that. And when you're on the road already, this sound, the engine sound, it actually makes sense now that it doesn't make that annoying of the diesel. From that perspective, I think it makes a lot of sense what Mazda was trying to do, because it is actually quite a good car on the road like this. The suspension takes away all those imperfections, because now in South Africa, luckily on the national roads, we are blessed with good roads. So from that perspective, you get a good car that can actually do a long distance. I don't feel tired because the seat adjustments as well, it does have plenty of adjustments. And for the Takumi as well, you get the passenger side as well with lumbar support and electric adjustments and so on. Memory seats as well that are sitting here for the driver. That is something that of course you will always appreciate, because if you're sharing a car with your wife and so on, you know for sure that at some point the seat is going to be way in front and then you have to adjust it back again. So I think they've done a great job. Let me say that from the perspective of asking for $1 million plus, I understand what they've done. And I've seen that they are like what are the specials now, where I think you can get a Takumi for like $1 million on the dot, 9999. So I think it makes sense why they want $1 million from you, because it adds so much. I mean, when I'm looking at what they are offering, everything you can think of in here, it is there. Adaptive cruise control, lane keep assist. I think the only thing that it doesn't have is centering, so it can't keep you in lane. Once I turn on cruise control, it's adaptive and set, but if I leave it and it has to leave the lane, the only thing that it's going to do is to bring me back in the lane, but it keeps just going back. You see, it gives up now. Even it gives up and just say you'll sort yourself out. So those are the things maybe that I don't think they did perfect. And when you have adaptive cruise control, for someone to enjoy the drive, I think at the very least put centering, so that at least they don't have to work hard in it. They can just relax and know that the car will semi-drive for them. That's just probably one thing that they should have done. But otherwise, you get almost everything that you want in here. Like I said, it doesn't have seat heating, it has ventilation. And when I'm looking at what it offers out here as well, you get like plenty of stuff. I think you can even put this thing on sport mode and it will sound a little bit like that. This truck now is causing a lot of problems on the road, and then next thing there are chip stones and so on. Guys, I just want to pass this truck quickly because I can't afford this car to have like chip stones and so on. Yo, that was a lot of sand and whatever that may be, but putting it back, because I honestly don't think sport matters in a car like this. That's just my view. And I said this car has a good sound system. I mean, the Bose sound system in here is quite good. Yes, I can't rate it as highly as that Bose and Wilkins in the Volvo XC60, but think of it this way: I don't have to pay 45k for it. It comes standard with this car. So from that perspective, why not? yeah, so that's the sound system, and yeah, I think it's actually quite good. It reminds me of how much I enjoyed the Bose in the Mazda 3 as well. So yeah, I think overall this is a very good product from Mazda. They've done a great job, and from the perspective of a 3.3 liter engine as well, if I'm looking at the consumption here, I think sometimes I do average, depending on the trips, I do average less than 6 and so on. I think Mazda rated it around 4.9, and I haven't experienced that on any drive. But right now I'm averaging 7.4 because I haven't been that good to the car. I can't complain much because this is a mild hybrid, of course, as well. And you would expect that it would be, let me just get in here quickly. It would be consuming less than this, but because of the way I was driving it, I don't know if it's the car, it's me, because I was getting a little bit excited overall. But one thing that I think they're trying as much as possible to make you save on fuel, it's that it's easy to coast this car. You don't need to put it on eco. It doesn't even have that eco mode. It has off-road mode, it has standard, and then it has, you see, it's off-road, normal, and sport. It's easy to coast this car. If you're going down, I don't know if it will do it now. If I just let it lie before I get to that hill, it's not doing it now, but it's easy to coast it where it's just on, like, not revving. The rev counter will just be at 0 and the car will just be floating. So it happens mostly when the road is going down a bit. So it helps with fuel consumption on like highways and stuff. So from that perspective, I think they're trying to help, but I was in a good boy about it. So yeah, I can't complain much. But overall, I think what a car. It's a good car. And I think for someone who's looking to buy into this segment, even for your family, you can actually enjoy it. You can actually get a lot of stuff with it done, even with the full family. Yes, I can't say it's the most spacious. In fact, in the rear, maybe I'm just way too backwards. Like, I think I'm leaning, like, what do we call this thing in English, guys? I'm laid back a bit, I think. So that's another thing as well. But otherwise, besides that, I can't complain about anything else. This is a good product from Mazda, and I think if the future is anything to go by and they keep bringing cars like this with engine like this with the right marketing, I think Mazda can be somewhere where people can look at it and think, if I want a premium to luxurious car, I can actually look at a Mazda, because there's just so much that is on offer. I won't even finish the spec if I start reading it. With that said, guys, I think that's it for me today. Really appreciate that you've been here with me today, and I am out.